Oh, shall I? Okay to talk about that? What I
Go ahead, Russ.
was just talking about.
Yeah, talk about your intro to the team and when you joined.
So at that time, the sheriff decided that we should all be reserve deputy sheriffs.
Yeah.
Well, Sierra Madre was the only one that didn't weren't reserve deputy sheriffs, and they fought like hell. In fact, the president of the Sierra Madre team, Minor Harkness, and the president of the Montrose team actually went down and talked to the sheriff himself.
Yeah.
And they said that was a really weird experience because this guy would get pissed off at them.
Yeah.
And at one point, he just wiped the typewriter right off his own desk onto the floor. Yeah. And of course, an aide is in the room there too. And he ran over and picked it up. But he got really pissed off. But it was finally after, I don't know how many, maybe months, they finally agreed to let each team vote, and they had, 50% or more had to vote for a certain thing, whether to be civilian volunteers or reserve deputy sheriffs.
Yeah.
And the Sierra Madre team said, no way, we don't want to be. So they voted to be civilian volunteers. And I was on the Altadena team at the time. So when that team voted, they voted over 50% to be reserve deputy sheriffs. 3 of us got up simultaneously without even looking at each other and walked out of the room and went home.
And they were voting as an either or, meaning members become deputy sheriffs or civilian volunteers. Was there a mix?
No, they voted to be all deputy sheriffs.
Yeah.
And so 2 of the 3 of us went back to the team and decided to stay as reserve deputy sheriffs, and I didn't. And so it was about 2 years later, 1975, when I joined the Sierra Madre team.
Yeah.
And if you really think about it, you've been on enough searches and rescues to know that you've never needed a gun out there. You've never needed to be a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
And another thing that's really important is when you go to interview a family, when somebody's lost, you go and interview a family to find out all you can about that person, so that it might help you go where the person is or find them. And so you don't want to go as a deputy sheriff. You want to go just as a friend and talk to the family and convince them that you're there only, you don't care if the person you're looking for is a drug addict or a murderer or whatever.
Yeah.
You just, and so I think we know how to interview people a lot better. If just deputy sheriffs go, they don't do it very well. So, anyway.
So do you want to answer the question about what was your most memorable moment on the team?
Oh.
This is from the email that John sent recently.
God, I don't know, because there have been lots and lots of situations like that, I think. But one of the I think most interesting searches I was on, and I was on the Altadena team at the time. There was a guy about 50 years old, Paul Snow, who was with a church group up in the mountains off Angeles Crest Highway. There's that Blue Ridge dirt road that goes along about 4 or 5 miles to Guffey Campground, and there was a church group that actually there's a little road that goes from that Blue Ridge Road down a hill and to a little place where there used to, now it's not, it's all closed off, but it used to be a little campground and picnic ground. So they were, this church group was there, and they went for a hike. Well, somehow this guy, Paul Snow, got separated from the others. It's a good example of why people need to stay together. So he was wandering around trying to find his way. And another thing that they told us about with him, that without his glasses, he was almost blind. Well, we searched and searched. I think the Montrose team and maybe some of the San Dimas team members, because that area was in San Dimas's area. So their coordinator, a guy named Bill Fowler, was running the search. And so they decided that, I think by Friday of that week, people have been searching for almost a whole week. They said, the sheriff's department said, we're going to shut down the search because we don't think he's alive by now, or we don't think he's in the mountains, something like that. Well, the Sierra Madre team found out about that, and they told the sheriff's department, if you don't search anymore and find this guy, we are going to go out after you're all through. We'll go and find the guy, and then we'll really publicize it thoroughly in the papers, in the news, that you failed and left a victim out there.
Your phone's going off.
That was my phone. That means there's somebody at the door.
You want me to go get it?
No, because they didn't actually ring the doorbell. So the sheriff's department said, okay, we'll search for the weekend, continue the search there. Well, I had a crew of 2 other guys, Bob Stiver and Matt Pauley, were their names. That was a long time ago, over 50 years ago. So we were told to search from the Blue Ridge Road down a long ridge down into called Vincent Gulch. And so we did that, and starting down there, I was on the point of the ridge going down, and the other 2 guys, one was on one side and the other side of the ridge, down a little bit. We could still talk or yell to each other, but we felt that we searched better that way. So I had a pair of binoculars, and at one point I stopped and I was looking around with the binoculars, and I looked back over to where I could see the Blue Ridge Road coming in from Angeles Crest Highway. So there was a car coming in and on the road. So I thought, okay. And I watched it, and the car stopped, and the guy got out of his car and got something out of the back of the car and walked down the slope a ways, and I couldn't tell what he was carrying. And then he went back up to the car, and I said, this is pretty weird. So I radioed to base camp. I said, get a deputy sheriff along Angeles Crest Highway right there where the Blue Ridge Road starts. There's going to be a car, I told the color, coming out. You need to stop that guy and talk to him. Well, they did do that, and he finally admitted that he had stolen a motorcycle and he had stripped it, and that was the frame of the motorcycle he wanted to get rid of. I don't know why he wanted to keep the parts other than the frame, but it. And then later they found out that the resident deputy sheriff it was either Big Pine or Wrightwood, was really anxious to get that guy because he had been stealing things like motorcycles for quite a while.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. And people kidded me after that, said, "Oh, you're getting pretty coppy. You think you're a deputy sheriff."
Yeah.
So anyway, we continued down that ridge, down to Vincent Gulch, and we went upstream toward Angeles Crest Highway. And then there was a little side canyon to our right. And I said, maybe we better go up this little canyon. Well, we were really right underneath Angeles Crest Highway where the sheriff's vehicles were parked, and we could hear them.
Yeah.
We could actually hear them talking on the radio up there. And we started up that gully and we separated. I was over on one side and one guy was in the center and another one was over on the hillside a little bit, going up the canyon.
Yeah.
And I went through an area where there were some fallen trees and branches and things. And I saw something laying there. I picked it up and it looked like it had been a t-shirt, but it was wound up like, and I didn't know at the time, but that might be somebody put it around their head or their something to keep warm.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I picked it up and looked at it, and it looked like there was dried blood on it. And I smelled the t-shirt, and it smelled like deodorant. So I knew that hadn't been there very long. And I radioed to base camp. I described the t-shirt. I said, ask the relatives who were there about the size and the make of the t-shirt. And they radioed back, said, oh no, the relatives say that couldn't have been his. So I thought, that's not true.
Yeah.
So I thought, we got to go up this canyon farther. Maybe we'll find something. So another couple of 100 yards up the canyon, I looked ahead, and there in the shadows was a guy standing up. Well, I knew there shouldn't be anybody there. There were no rescuers there or anything. And I said to the other guys, my God, look, could that be him? And they said, oh my God, yes. So we very carefully walked up to him because people like that get very scared when the people come around and find them. So we approached him slowly, and I said, hi, I said, are you Paul Snow? And he said, yes. And I said, well, we're glad to see you. He said, well, I'm glad too. He could hardly talk. And when we got to him, we talked a little bit. And he said, you know, there was a little water in the stream I could have, but I had no food. And he said, I got so cold. This was in November. And he said, I got so cold at night that he said, I felt today that this was going to be my last day. I'd probably die tonight.
Yeah.
And so we radioed up there that we had him and to send a lower litter down by helicopter.
Yeah.
And, you know, they didn't have the big Air 5. They had the little helicopters, little Bell helicopters. And So they had a litter and a guy hanging out the door with a rope holding the litter. And they got in the right place and just lowered it down into the trees and then dropped the rope.
Yeah.
And then they had people on the ground come in with blankets and things to put in the litter.
Yeah.
And they carried him out. I'm sure he's dead by now because he was probably 50 years old then.
Yeah.
So he'd be probably over 100.
Yeah.
And so that was a fun thing to, have a really successful find.
Did he say how he got down there?
He said he fell and broke the glasses and cut his forehead.
Wow.
And we saw the mark on his forehead. Of course, it dried up.
Yeah.
But, and so he took his T-shirt off,
Yeah.
and outside the T-shirt, he just had a thin sport shirt.
Yeah.
And so he was getting very cold at night because it was in November. It does get cold up there at that elevation. So that was great. And
What time of the day was it when you found him?
I think maybe middle of the afternoon.
Yeah. So it was temperatures were dropping when you got to him. Yeah.
And it was in the shade mostly in that narrow canyon.
Did he have any other injuries?
No.
Just the head laceration?
Yeah.
Did you provide any medical care to him?
No, because it was just a little dried blood on the spot.
Yeah.
And I don't think we had anything with us.
Yeah.
Any first aid stuff.
No, really? This is before butt packs.
Yeah. Yes. And I was on Altadena. I don't even know if Altadena carries butt packs today.
Yeah.
So.
What about any operations where you were with Sierra Madre?
Oh, there have been a bunch.
What's your most memorable one?
I'm trying to think. Some unfortunately, have been finding bodies.
Yeah.
One time, we were called to search way up Angeles Crest Highway where a guy's motorcycle was found by the highway patrol at a turnout. And they kept seeing this motorcycle there. And they finally had the motorcycle hauled away. And then the highway patrol guy forgot which turnout it was. So we had to have a bunch of people searching along up the hill and down the canyon to try and find him. Well, finally somebody found some tracks about 1,000 feet down the slope toward the desert. And there he was, hanging in a tree. He had hung himself.
Oh, wow.
Well, it was reported that his girlfriend had told him that was the end of their relationship.
Yeah.
And so, there's so many women available. Why would he bother killing himself just because he lost one girlfriend?
Yeah.
And so anyway, we had to haul him up there, get him down out. In fact, the way he hung himself, he reached out over a drop-off and on a branch of a tree tied a rope and around his neck, and then he jumped off.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it took us quite a long time to hoist the litter up the steep embankment.
Yeah.
And of course he'd been hanging there in the warm sun for 7 days.
Oh, so he was well decomposed.
Well, he was still all in one piece, but
Yeah.
the smell was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And so we got him into a litter and covered up, and then on the sheriff's pickup truck there was a winch,
Yeah.
but the winch cable was only so long, so somebody pulled the winch cable all the way down to its end, and then there was still a long distance down, at least a climbing rope length, maybe 2 climbing ropes. So they had to pull the cable up with the winch
Yeah.
till the rope came up to the end of the hook, and then redo the hook, send it back down again to attach to another rope. And anyway, finally pulled him up, and by then the guy from the coroner's office was there
Yeah.
and started checking him. You know, he had to actually cut his pockets off to get his wallet out.
Yeah.
And he had gone to the bank, and there was a whole bunch of money in his wallet, I guess.
Yeah.
But and they had brought burgers up for the searchers.
Yeah.
So we're all eating burgers and watching,
Yeah.
and which I was surprised that I was able to do.
Yeah.
And everything was fine until the girlfriend had been told that what had happened, and she was up there, had driven up there, or somebody drove her up there, and one of the deputy sheriffs told her that he had committed suicide, and she started screaming.
Yeah.
She just went into hysterics, and that got to me.
Yeah.
So
How old was the guy?
I think he was maybe less than 20 years old,
Oh, wow. So really young.
maybe just a teenager.
Wow.
And so another one, similar one to that, right where the Mount Wilson Trail starts, there's a little ridge that goes to the west,
Yeah.
a little trail that goes up there.
Yeah.
And so when we finally found that guy, he was along the ridge there. He had sat down and used I think called a 50 caliber ball and cap rifle,
Yeah.
a really old antique rifle, and he had apparently put it in his mouth and reached down and pushed the trigger, and the whole top of his skull above his ears was gone,
Yeah.
and the brains,
Yeah.
they were out in the bushes.
Yeah.
That's a horrible thing as a favorite search.
Yeah.
But it wasn't favorite, it was kind of grim.
Yeah.
Another thing that was, I thought kind of interesting, and it was when I was on Altadena, we were asked to go up a little road above, I think it was Saugus, or one of those places out there,
Yeah.
up into the hills where there had been a brush fire, and some of the firefighters
That's true, yeah.
got killed in the fire.
Yeah.
And in fact, because of that situation, because there were 9 of them that got killed,
Yeah.
and because of that, from then on, one of the crew members always was the safety guy and never would do any actual work. He would just keep an eye out because the fire had come down on one side of them and they didn't realize, and then came around and up this canyon where they were.
Yeah.
So this was after dark, we were flown in there in one of those little Bell helicopters, one person at a time. And they had a litter attached to the helicopter, and we took that off. And we were in just 2 people to each crew.
Yeah.
And we carried the litter in to found a body and put it in the litter, and it was hauled back down by a helicopter. Well, I handled 2 of those people.
Yeah.
One was burned so badly that you couldn't tell it was a human.
Yeah.
And after that operation, when we were done, we went down into the city there and went to a pizza parlor. And we drank beer and ate pizza and talked about it. My point is that we talked about it to each other, because otherwise that can just, do some bad things to you mentally.
Yeah.
And but you got to remember, searches or rescues where people lived.
Yeah.
Boy, I can't remember. Sometimes those memories will come when I least expect it, and I think about it a little bit, and then put it back on the shelf.
Yeah. Well, so far so good, Russ. We're at 26 minutes. Anything you want to say to the team?
No.
Okay. All right.
Not
thank you.
right now.
All right. Thank you. We'll do another one of these. All right. Thank you.